What is up, everyone? It's XTI here with the Shadow Priest PvP guide. Sorry I haven't made a lot of videos recently. I've been going to school, I've been working, and all that good stuff, and streaming every day. But now I'm going to start getting more into YouTube and streaming because streaming is really hard. It takes a lot of patience. Anyways, I'm not on my road today, as you can see. I'm going to be explaining why in a second, but for right now, I'm going to be explaining my ult, direshadows, PvP, and what I do for PvP. Now, let's go into talent trees. I use void tendrils just to counter warriors. Period. That is the only thing I go, usually, unless it's like a spell casting comp or something, then I go Siphene for the fears. Otherwise, I go Void Tendrils just so I can make sure I get melee off of me because they will destroy me, usually. I go Body and Soul for the passive to get the 6% movement speed buff for 4 seconds after I bubble, which is really nice. Phantasm is also really nice, but it doesn't give you movement speed. So most classic can just stay on you, and you're not going to get slowed, but they can stay on you. I want to be able to get away. Angelic Feather is nice, but I don't want to have to be putting that on the floor everywhere to run. Now, in my 45 talent tree, you can see that I have From Darkness Comes Light. Usually I have Solace and Sanity, but I wanted to try From Darkness Comes Light specifically because Shadow Priests rarely get off good spell, they barely get off cast, in arenas, just because they get trained so hard. Any combo with a Shadow Priest, you automatically focus the Shadow Priest, just because they don't really have that much getaways. They have fear, but most classes can either get out of it, or you can just get dispelled really quickly, and you can just keep focusing him. So for you to be able to use Solace and Insanity effectively, you have to have 3 Devouring Plague on the person, 3 Orb Devouring Plague, and you have to sit there and cast Mind Flay. At least 2 cast full channel cast of it for actually to be like a burst thing. Otherwise, if you sit there and get off 1 or 2 ticks, it's not worth it. So what I wanted to do, I made mine a burst instant cast spec. Basically, I got From Darkness Comes Light, which makes my Mind Spikes 20% chance to get Mind Spike every Vampiric Touch tick, and it costs and it costs no mana. It doesn't get rid of my dots, and it deals 50% additional damage with 2 charges. Sorry. I have Spectral Guise because you absolutely need it to be able to get away. It doesn't work towards hunters, which really sucks, but it's still really good just to have that 1 second to get a flash heal, or in the beginning of arena or duel, you can go invis and then get off your dots. Otherwise, if you don't, you're just kind of hoping that they don't interrupt you from the start so you can get off your dots and just train you from there. So that's why I have that. Angelic Bulwark is really good for 3s just because it's like a safety net or whatever. If you get too low, whatever, it'll give you health. Or no, sorry, it'll give you a bubble according to your health. Desperate Prayer is too long a cooldown to even be viable. It's a 2-minute cooldown and only heals you for 30% of your health. It's not that great in my opinion. And for my 75 tree, I went Divine Insight just because I like the free Mind Blast procs. Like I said, I want to go instant damage, so I can just get off the first set of dots, and then I have a whole bunch of procs from Mind Blast and Mind Spikes. Power Infusion is also a viable pick just because you can line up your burst with it with your trinket and Power Infusion, so you're supposed to get more haste, which means they'll obviously hit tick faster, which is more damage, and damage by 5%, which is great. Twist of Fate is only viable if they're below 35% health. So since, we're not raiding, we're doing PvP, and the person's not really going to stay 35% health the whole time, unless you're bursting them, but usually that's only for like a second or two if they're 35% health that you'll be able to get the buff or use that, utility good. Cascade, that's for more raiding. You can either get Halo or Divine Star. Either one is good. I use Divine Star because it's a way shorter cooldown, but Halo's also really good for 3s and especially RBGs. Just because you can stand in the back, do it, and crit heal people for like 100, 200k. For my glyphs, I went with Glyph of Inner Fire for the extra armor, even though it doesn't really help, but the armor is, nice. Glyph of Focus Mending causes your prayer mending to only bounce between the target and the caster. So that means um, it will bounce between, like for example, before without it, it will bounce between like everyone, and now for me, like for my glyph, it will bounce between me and like whoever else. It will bounce to like one other person. They'll get hit and it will bounce right back to me. It won't bounce back to the third person or whoever else. And of course, Glyph of Inner Sanctum, spell damage taken is reduced by 6%. So that is really good versus spellcasters because they hit really hard. Now, of course, in BGs, in arenas and stuff like that, I change to Master Spell. I'll take out, depending on the comp. Depending on the comp, I'll take out Focus Mending, switch in Master Spell, and so I can dispel when needed. Another good glyph that you could probably use is a glyph of Weakened Soul, which will reduce the Weakened Soul debuff that you have by 2 seconds. So you'll be able to bubble faster, which is always nice. Now, hold on, he sent me something. For reforging and stuff like that, you just want haste and crit, like period. Haste and crit is your best friend. The more haste you have, when you get to a certain point, your dots will be able to tick another time within the duration of it. So that means it will automatically do a lot more damage. And of course, you want intellect for just pure dot damage. Mastery is not good for PvP just because you don't want to rely on your mastery to just get a double dot, because you want your dots to hit hard when it hits and not have to rely on it proccing twice. So for enchants, you just want the regular 285 intellect and 165 critical, all the haste into mastery. For blues, you want the Mysterious Imperial Amethyst. I'm not really sure if you're saying that right. Or I'm saying that right, sorry. Just because it gives you 80 intellect and 80 PvP power. PvP power is really garbage right now, but it's better than nothing. And for red, you want intellect, and for meta gem, you want the straight, the meta intellect one. Sorry. But anyways, so I'm going to show you guys like a quick damage thing. So you put your dots up, Mind Blast as soon as possible. Some people Mind Blast and then put your dots up, but to me, I think it's way more important to put your dots up and then try to Mind Blast. See, as you can see, I got 2 procs. 62. Alright, so now I can burst. 173. See, now all that was instant. All that damage was instant. Now I don't have to rely on Devouring Plague. I don't have to rely on my Mind Flays or whatever. I just get a couple of them off, and then now everything else is instant. Got my Devouring Plague up again. Mind Flay as much as possible. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to sit here and Mind Flay. But if you get your dots up, then you get your Vampire, your Mind Blast procs and your Mind Spikes, which is always good. Now, of course, if you're lucky enough to not get focused in a arena, you win because Shadow Priests do a stupid amount of damage if they're not getting touched. As you can see, just tearing it up, totally tearing it up. But tips and tricks. Versus, let's go class-wise. Sorry, this might be a little bit long, but let's go class-wise. Versus warriors, you will lose. Period. Unless you get really lucky with crits and, and you can heal yourself up good. If you can't, usually you lose, just because your dots usually can't out-heal second win, or if it does, it's by a little bit. By a little bit. So it's really hard, for how much damage and healing they get. Rogues is like, you just have to make them cast Cloak. If you get a rogue to cast Cloak early, then you win, because you can fear and you can CC chain him don't forget, Psychic Horror is your best friend. Psychic Horror will save your life. It horrifies them and disarm them for a super long time. So anything other than a warrior, like rogues, pally, or anything like that, will be disarmed for a long time, which means that you can not get pounded on. Now, when I geared this guy, let me talk about my rogue. When I geared this guy, I thought he was still good because in the beginning of the expansion, Shadow Priests were amazing. They were OP because they can do so much damage, and and that's it. They can just destroy people. I geared this guy, I don't know, a while back, and I just been keeping him up to date on his gear and stuff like that. But I've always been not that great, I guess, because it's a different kind of mechanic than a rogue. You're casting, you're trying to get away, you're trying to kite. As a rogue, I could just sit there in people's face and destroy them. But rogues, this whole expansion, pretty much, like, they got buffed, but they're still so squishy to certain classes. Spellcasters like locks and mages and DKs, warriors, hunters, anything like that can destroy a rogue just because they do way too much damage. Unless you're like really good at a rogue, you're gonna have a really hard time in arenas, in anything serious anyways. Any serious arenas, just because you'll get focused. And there's only so much you can do as a rogue. In twos you can't really just keep vanishing, or you're trying to get a reself off just because they'll focus your healer, and you don't want that either. But in threes, usually they'll switch to you after they notice you vanished or something, or they'll try to force you to vanish twice. They get you to vanish the second time after you pop prep, it's GG. You might as well just put down your hands and let them do what you want to your body, because you're gonna get destroyed in a second. Because they're just gonna focus you. You can't do anything. The cooldowns aren't that great. So I decided that I should try to play a spellcasting class, just because they're a lot more needed in RBGs and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I picked I picked Shadow Priest, which is not really needed anymore compared to like the better version of us, which are locks. So I don't know, I gotta see what I can do. It's really hard to find good people that are willing to try and not go 40-0 and get 2K or something. But hey, what can you do? But anyways, defensive cooldowns that Shadow Priests have are Dispersion, which I highly recommend that you use during anyone's burst. You don't want to just eat it unless you're already in some kind of bubble from like a monk or like a disc priest or something like that. Shadow Fiend, use it. You don't use it for mana. If you try to use it for mana, they will realize that and they'll cyclone it, and then it'll be a waste. Try to use it during a burst. If you use it during a burst, then it'll help you. It'll help you do damage. It's just like another place from doing damage, Vampiric Embrace is really, really nice. If you have either the whole other team or, however many people you're going against dotted, it'll heal you and your teammates for so much. It gets pretty ridiculous. I got healed to full one time because in the threes match, wow, I popped all the wrong stuff. I got healed to full in the threes match one time just because of Vampiric Touch. It was just healing off when they was trying to focus me, and they couldn't kill me because of it. Depending on what you do, you have Divine Star, you have your fears and stuff like that. But like I said, compared to other classes, like our counterspell is 45 seconds. 45-second counterspell. So that's a long time to be out of a counterspell compared to a mage where it's like 20 seconds and the lock's like 20 seconds. It's like double that time. So it's a long time. You really have to choose when you're gonna silence someone and if it's worth it or not, because you don't want to silence them and then right after silence done, they just smack you with like 3 chaos bolts or something. or like a defreeze burst. It gets pretty complicated. The best thing you have is Leap of Faith. By far, you can juke people so easily in different maps, and it just saves lives to be able to. If the person you're doing arenas with is not that good, or he's too out in the open, whatever reason, you can just get him in life grip on. I think he has to be in our party. Yeah. As you can see, I'm getting procs like crazy right now, just because. So that's basically it. Haste crit for forging. Get straight intellect gems whenever you can. For blues, you want intellect and PvP power. For yellows, I suggest I got haste and PvP power, but I'm sure there's something better. For weapons, you obviously want the Jade Spirit, and yeah. I think I covered everything. Thanks guys for coming. I'll make a BG video and upload it also later on today, probably when I wake up, and after I'm done sleeping or whatever. So thanks guys for coming. I appreciate it. If you like my video, please be sure to follow. I'm gonna have more Rogue and Shadow Priest videos up soon. It won't be like forever. Again, I promise. I'm sorry. Yeah guys, later.